more of your family's media consumption habits. Does your family ever use the library?
My kids use the library at school, but I can't think of a time where we ever went to a public library. You know, so in the way that I used the library when I was growing up, no.
You use liquid content. What do you mean by liquid?
Well, yes, but maybe a little bit more than that. The question is, I use the term liquid content, but I also use the term lubricated, and the question was, what did I mean by that? That it was simply made liquid? Not just that. I think that the role of technology and a lot of the things I showed, a lot of the user interfaces and sharing mechanisms and display mechanisms are the lubrication. The fact that I thought the Walk on Water video was funny and I could share it with 60,000 people on Twitter, that's lubrication. It has to be liquid before it can be lubricated, though.
What's your perspective on DRM-free? Without DRM, I guess that's your definition to be the most liquid of all, but obviously that's some challenge with so curious to see.
So the question is, what do I think about DRM-free content and, you know, the issue around if you take all the DRM off of it, you know, you're encouraging redistribution, sharing, etc., and that poses a lot of problems for the rights holders. My view on this is fairly simplistic, and that is that if people want to steal your content, they'll steal your content. And that DRM is a tax on your best customers, and it's a bad idea. I'm totally opposed to it. I think it's a horrible idea. I've always been opposed to it. I invested in a DRM startup in 1997, you know, put a bunch of money into it, went out of business. But, you know, my feeling about it isn't, I don't think, much to do with losing money on the idea. It has to do with the fact that I happily pay for content. And when I am stopped from using that content on a device that I want to use it on, or in you know, allowing my daughter to listen to it, or, you know, something that feels totally reasonable and fair to me because of some piece of technology that just has the wrong rules built into it, I get very, very angry. And I just think that content owners should not be treating their customers that way, particularly their best customers.
In the ever-growing openness of the internet, and you see sharing the line from private to public and that moving forward and including the meaningfulness of that share, what do you think the future of that?
That's a big question. The question is, as the internet's moving more and more from private to public, and we're seeing more and more sharing happen, what is the meaning of that? What do you mean by that?
How meaningful is that share? Like you said, 60,000 Twitter.
Right, how meaningful is the sharing? So I think that the individual, I think what's going to happen, so the question, I think I said the question, but the way I interpret the question is, if people sharing thousands of things every day, how meaningful is that individual share anymore? And I think the answer is not very. And where we're going to move to next, I think, is filters. All of these systems, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Boxy, Tumblr, or whatever, we're going to start to put more and more filters in so that the shares have to be more and more meaningful. So Twitter announced their first advertising initiative about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. And the way that their service is called Promoted Tweets. And the way that their service works is that if you write a tweet and you want to promote it, you can actually spend money to get that tweet on top of search result pages and potentially down the line even into people's timelines. But the thing that they announced that was most interesting in my mind was that they have this algorithm that they call resonance, RESOANANCE. And it's a little bit like Google's PageRank algorithm in the sense that it determines whether or not a piece of content is going to be displayed to you or not. And resonance is a little bit of a black box right now because Twitter hasn't, published the algorithm, but it includes things like how many times that promoted tweet has been retweeted, how many people have replied to it, if it has a link in it, if anybody clicked on the link, if it has a hashtag in it, if anybody clicked on the hashtag, if it has if it's been favorited and how many times it's been favorited. And that whole algorithm wraps up all that social engagement around the tweet and establishes whether that tweet has any resonance, and in real time whether it has any resonance. So if there's a tweet that's going out there that there's a plane down in the Hudson, that might have resonance for the next day, and then all of a sudden people might stop being interested in it. So I think that it's algorithms like that that will start to become the dominant way that sharing will start to matter. So if we're really good friends, then maybe my share matters. But for the 66,000 people who follow me on Twitter, maybe the share doesn't matter. Maybe they won't even see a lot of my tweets going forward. Maybe they'll only see the tweets I put out there that have a lot of resonance.
Won't that create like a populist attitude though? Like look at Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber.
Everyone has to say Justin.
So your question is, if Justin Bieber fan put money behind a Justin Bieber tweet, and it would have a lot of resonance because all the Justin Bieber fans would vote it up, and then we'd see it all over Twitter.
Wouldn't algorithms like that, create more of a, I think I lost my words.
Well, so I think it's a valid criticism, which is that just because it's popular doesn't mean it's good. And I think that that's one of the challenges that we will have with respect to all of these filters, is that we're going to have to figure out how to assess quality and not just popularity. And I think that Google's PageRank algorithm was very interesting because it's not a simple thing, at least it wasn't back in the late 90s, to create a link to a piece of content on the internet. And so it actually took real work to do. And you couldn't just, at that time anyway, you couldn't just do it easily. Today it's a much easier thing to do. And so they treated that as a quality score, and they built a whole search engine on the back of that. So I think that that's the kind of thing that we're going to see a lot more of in these social systems going forward.